I had so many friends and people that I never even met in person, but because I saw that they had a punk holder, or because they were apes, like I could pick up the phone and be like, hey, I don't know what this means, or shoot them a message and they'd be like, oh yeah, I got you. Like, you don't forget your airdrop here and this and that, and looking out for each other. And then you're like, well, I don't even know you. Why are you helping me? And it's because we're part of a community. Yo,
Hey.
What's up, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. How's everything?
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out.
Of course, man. Hey, exactly. Hey, welcome to the house.
I'm Greg Solano. I'm one of the co-founders of Yuga Labs, which is home to CryptoPunks, Bored Ape Yacht Club, 10KTF, Meebits, and Other Side.
I'm Chris, a GP and a president of Web3 Media at Andreessen Horowitz.
When was the first time you heard about CryptoPunks?
Okay. So there's two versions of when I learned about CryptoPunks. I think the first one was actually in 2017 when so we're investors in Dapper Labs, and the first CryptoKitties project came out, and so we were just first time tinkering with Ethereum and getting a MetaMask account and kind of going from there. And then I heard about CryptoPunks. This was when literally probably only the super small community of people were talking about it, and of course I just was like, oh, that sounds crazy, like, or fun or interesting, and who knows. And I was still trying to breed cats like on the CryptoKitties at the time, and then just really didn't think anything of it. But it was cool kind of just seeing how just initial projects were really starting to take off. And then if you fast forward to late 2020, early 2021, kind of when the I would call it like the next boom of the NFT, the PFP projects were really starting to take off. That was when I got reintroduced to it, and then I was like, okay, cool, I got to find my MetaMask again. And I found my MetaMask and my seed phrase, and then all of a sudden, like, really started hearing about CryptoPunks, this, that, these traits. And I started, following some of the sales and the traits. And I was like, okay, let me really give this a whole second thought.
Yeah, it's amazing. So when was it then that you finally pulled the trigger?
It was early 2021, right? Like, and I think, I bought, like, when I thought about it, I was like, okay, I have to do it. Like, but I had to find, it was interesting because I think punks are like the first project where you can actually see one. It sounds crazy, see one that looks like you.
Yeah.
But that was the whole thing. I was like, oh, this punk represents me. This is my project, or this is the one that I can put out. And I wanted one that kind of I could tell a story about.
Yeah.
And it was deeper because I was falling super deep into just crypto and understanding the provenance and the importance of it, not just from like a PFP project, but also how we can onboard, the next 100 million people onto crypto, right? And onto the blockchain. And with everything, that even like as an investor, but also an evangelist of technology, you have to have a story, right? And like, what was the story and the easiest way for me to be able to tell my friends, whether back home in Atlanta or people in the music industry or people outside of traditional technology, that you could get into crypto. And I saw the gold chains, and I was like, okay, this is the trait one that, I came from the entertainment industry as a music producer and engineer, and, the idea from, my culture, like the idea of wearing gold chains and what that symbolizes. But then it was really interesting because like a lot of gold chains that, whether it's the hip hop community or people in general buy, they depreciate. But like with CryptoPunks, it's actually the opposite. Like there's only 169 gold chains. And so
I didn't realize it was that rare, actually.
Yeah. We're a tight little community. Shout out to all the gold chain holders in the building. And so for me, it's like, okay, that's how you can tell a story of actually, one, appreciation, two, being able to allow people to say, okay, now like I can be part of a community and also kind of have a trait that looked like me. And so like the chain always was like a symbol of culture and a symbol of community amongst people that didn't necessarily know what that was at the time. And I'm still a huge believer of crypto, and it's my mission, and I hopefully with other people, whether across all different communities, to ensure that we make crypto extremely easy to understand, so that we can onboard the next group to allow people to not only experience in wealth transfer, which I think is one thing, but really just the benefit of the technology and what can happen, like if we start going from the infrastructure layer to the application layer. And that's what, specifically within A16Z crypto, what we're extremely excited about, and where I spend a lot of my time, not only just within just finding new investments, but even like with what you guys are working on and what we're working on together with Yuga. And so I think that it's a halo effect to make the world understand what the possibilities are, and at the end of the day, be able to participate. Which, if you think about investing into, I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to invest into Facebook. They're like, there's no way in the world you could invest into Facebook because it's a private company. And so like, but what does that mean? Like, so you have these barriers, right? Yeah. Crypto, you could have bought Bitcoin at $100. You could have bought ETH at $10. Like, anybody had access. So it kind of levels the playing field. Yeah. But the only thing that is missing is the access to the information. You didn't buy Bitcoin because you didn't know about it. You didn't buy ETH because you didn't know about it. And so from a cultural standpoint, I believe that, specifically even within Black culture, how can we help leverage our excellence in terms of, sharing where the information is going. And I thought that the gold chain, was a really cool, fun narrative and medium to help make that happen.
My first experience with punks is similar to yours. I think I first came on my radar around the time of CryptoKitties, but it wasn't similarly until late 2020, early 2021, when NFTs just felt like they were bursting on the scene. It was around the time of Beeple's massive historic sale.
Yep. Shout out to People.
Oh yeah. And you just felt like the smartest people on Twitter that knew what they were talking about had one thing in common, and it was that this little punk PFP on their profile. And I remember so many of them had girl CryptoPunks, and for the longest time I thought these people were actually female, and that turned out that certain DeFi builders just love wild white punks and all that. Yeah. It's just a really funny world to crack open when spending time in the CryptoPunks Discord. And
what was your kind of connection points in terms of why it was deeper than crypto?
My grandparents fled Cuba with nothing, on both sides. And my grandmother was an elementary school teacher, and my grandmother would always say education was so important to her because what you have in your head, she'd say no one can take away. What's in your mind, no one can take away. And that takes on a new meaning, I think, when you think about crypto, and that you can hold a seed phrase, in your mind, and that you can custody an asset that way, rather than leaving Cuba with just the clothes on their back. In today's day and age, that might look something more like storing 18 words in your brain and being able to access your self-custodied wallet from anywhere on the world. And the difference between starting over or having a little bit of a head start there.
They can't take that from you.
Right. And so I think it's no surprise that to this day in Cuba and other places of the world, one of the things that the government tries to clamp down on the most is access to the internet and the transmission of information and knowledge in that way. And I think crypto is this new layer to that allows for people to transact in a way that it's permissionless, and it's just incredibly powerful, and especially when you're thinking about repressive regimes like that. So in early spring of 2022, we were talking because we were going, Yuga was looking to do its raise, which A16Z led.
Yep.
And I remember though jumping on a call with you and I think Chris Dixon. Finally, we were like, okay, guys, here's what we're doing. Here's what we're acquiring CryptoPunks and Meebits. And what was your thinking at that time? When was that out of left field for you? Was that something you were expecting?
I thought it was a huge and very strategic move. I thought that, the community felt even more inspired and behind Yuga, which, after we led the deal, it's like, okay, now the real work begins. And I think even to this day, if you think about the moves that we just most recently did on the acquisition and, bringing on Daniel and like everything that we have done from that has kind of like set the bar and set the standard. And, you start off at the top and then just keep on going higher from there. So it was a big day, and I know the whole community went crazy.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was expecting it. I mean, we weren't even really expecting it either when we, first talked to Matt and John, and the idea came to all of us. And but we knew, I think the thing that was most exciting for us was we knew, what can we do here? What can we what if we gave everyone like the license to their IP, which is something that was
exactly
really important in the punks community at the time.
And a lot of people were talking about that too. That was the number one thing, like, well, what can I do with my punk?
Right. And there wasn't a lot of clarity around that. And I think Matt and John, they're visionaries and they're creators, but they don't want to be in the position, I think, of like wrangling the community in the same way and of like, figuring out the like legal structure for all that stuff and operating that part of it. And that's something that we felt like we could take on and do that would be in the proper stewardship of punks into the future. And because it just felt at the time like, look, if punks win, that we all win. And
exactly.
And how do you think about investing in community?
Yeah, crypto and NFTs and strategic projects like apes, like punks, and many others, we're able to kind of re-identify what community is without having to be in person.
Yeah.
Having friends, not FRIENDS, but FRENS. It's like, it's a digital community and allow people to come together. And I think that like I had so many friends and people that I never even met in person, but because I saw that they had a punk holder, or because they were apes, like I could pick up the phone and be like, hey, I don't know what this means. Or shoot them a message and they'd be like, oh yeah, I got you. Like, you don't forget your airdrop here and this and that, and looking out for each other. And then you're like, well, I don't even know you. Why are you helping me? And it's because we're part of a community and you're able to help each other. And I think that, that started off in a physical world, has moved into a digital world. And I think that we're at a point in our life where now we need equal parts, physical and digital, to work together, whether it's talking about crypto or whether it's talking about everyday life and humanity and situations. But I think that the energy and the behavior is super important.
Yeah. No, it's a really beautiful thing that you're pointing out about like just how welcoming these communities can be and how helpful. And like, I think the scarcity of it is part of it. It's like, there's only 10,000 CryptoPunks. You see somebody who has one, like they've made an effort to get that thing, and and there's an opportunity cost there. And like, a lot of people, you don't own a $60,000, $100,000 asset or whatever it is. You don't think about it all the time, and like, want to engage with people in the Discord and do these things. Like it's a really active part of a lot of people's lives.
Yeah. What has punks kind of given you in terms of how you think about building the next, whether it's media empire, next metaverse, the next NFT projects? Like what has CryptoPunks given to you to give you that sense of the future of community?
Yeah. I think the punks community is incredibly vibrant, and it's been how many years now? 5-6 years now. Starting off slowly in the Discord and then fulminating over time and growing, and people coming in and out and over the years. And I think one of the most powerful things is like all these different personalities that you get to know on Twitter, and people who've been punks for years, and they identify themselves by punk 6529 or 9059 or whatever it is on Twitter. And the things that they contribute to the ecosystem, whether they're doing like a, daily statistics like
Yeah, the
kind of
NFT
dump or something like
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Or they're, writing long threads about, their theses around crypto and NFTs, or, the way that the world is headed or something like that. All of these different contributions feed back into the whole, because everyone's like identifying as part of this community and part of this project. And then it becomes this like dialectic, or this like batting back and forth. They're like, okay, how is CryptoPunks different today because of the contributions of people that came in only over the past 2 years and took it in a new direction?
Yep.
And what does that mean for the future of the project, and for especially now as punks and apes and other projects get more and more into the mainstream, like what is the future of the punks community, knowing that we've had moments now where, like, you have a Warhol and a punk sitting next to each other at a museum like we had recently.
Yep.
It's just exciting, I think, and we've seen so many different people, LVMH chairs or otherwise, like, join the community, and I'm just looking forward to what the new blood brings in.
Well, this was a pleasure, man. I think that, like, you guys that are keeping the momentum strong. I think that everything that we're doing together, and that you and the team have continued to, bring into this ecosystem is bigger than ourselves. And I think that at the end of the day, we're stewards of visions and stewards of community. And I think that being able to tell this story, it meant a lot to me, but also even more so, like, that people can know that that you as a leader of Yuga, and a leader of CryptoPunks, and a leader of Meebits, and a leader of Other Side, and so many different projects, there's no better person than you to kind of help shepherd this vision. And I'm glad everybody gets a chance to see the project of CryptoPunks really, come into fruition. And, it's a pleasure continuing to working together on this and having a conversation today.
Thank you so much. That means a lot coming from you. Appreciate it, Chris.
So